Let go and let God. Let go and let God. How many times have you been faced with what appeared to be an insurmountable problem, and you silently wished you could turn it over to somebody else for a solution? Or have you ever sat daydreaming, building magnificent images on the screen of your mind, wishing you had a certain sum of money, or wanting to take a trip to some exotic place, or possibly hoping to be able to purchase the automobile you have always wanted? Wouldn't it be fantastic if there was some magic formula that would give us the things we want and permit us to live the way we choose? Well, there is, and it has been around since time began. Therefore, you can have the things you want, all of them, and you will have them if you will only make the ideas in this book a part of your way of thinking, a part of your way of life. Make up your mind to read this chapter over and over 100 times if necessary, until you feel deep inside that you really comprehend the idea being expressed. For if you fail to grasp the idea presented to you in this chapter, the rest of the book will be of little value to you. However, once you do understand this chapter, it will be as if a tremendous light has gone on in your mind, truly illuminating your life. And you will realize you will never again be the same person you once were. No person, thing, or circumstance will intimidate you ever again. Your days of idle wishing will be brought to a halt. Happiness, health, and prosperity will follow you all the days of your life, and you will spend the rest of your years wanting to share your new understanding with everyone and anyone who is willing to take the time to listen and learn. Be aware, however, that many of the people whom you try to share your new awareness with are simply not ready for it. In fact, 9 out of 10 people will laugh and tell others you are odd when you have shared your formula, let go and let God, with them. You must realize this because the vast majority of people whom you encounter every day treat God like some cosmic bellboy who is supposed to run and fetch and then deliver. These individuals erroneously believe that merely because a person verbalizes certain thoughts in their mind, God, please get me this, God, give me that, they will receive what they have asked for. But unfortunately, these people do not understand the true nature of prayer, and what is even more tragic, they don't even know that they don't know. Potential is everywhere, always. Understand this. Everything which you see in this universe, yourself included, is nothing but the expression of an infinite power. This power is forever flowing into and through you. Scientists will tell you that everything is energy. I choose to say that everything is spirit. Let go and let God. For centuries, there has been a select group of people who are the real thinkers. These individuals have always known there is a power which permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the cosmos, and that everything you see around you is an expression of that power, and so is everything which you feel. The power operates in a very precise manner, which is generally called law. I choose to call it God. Others may speak of it as love, divine mind, divine intelligence, Jehovah, Lord, Father, First Cause, as well as a whole host of other synonymous names. But it doesn't really matter what you call it, because the important thing to bear in mind, and anyone of understanding will readily admit this fact, is that it is the power that doeth the work. In other words, everything comes from one source, and that source power always flows and works to and through the individual. That is you. Stated slightly differently, the image that you have formed can only come to you on the physical plane of life, your results, in one way, and that way is by law and through faith. The Mormon religion has a scripture in its Doctrine and Covenants which demonstrates this point extremely well. And although I am not a Mormon myself, I have grown to love these lines. There is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven before the foundations of this world, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to that law upon which it is predicated. That is from D&C 130, 20, and 21. The more you study this scripture, the more you will appreciate just how perfect it is. The more you understand its truth, the easier it will be for you to improve the quality of your life. Clarence Smithson's story. A number of years ago, when I was working in Chicago, Illinois, I became close friends with a man by the name of Clarence Smithson. Since Clarence is not a celebrity by any means, I am sure you have never heard his name before. In fact, he is such a modest, self-effacing person that if he were to walk into a room crowded with people, you would probably not even notice him. Nevertheless, there is a certain indefinable spark in Clarence Smithson, which makes him one of the most remarkable individuals I have ever had the pleasure to know. In an attempt to identify this elusive quality, I have come up with the following hypothesis. Clarence Smithson, it seems to me, incorporates within his very being the principle upon which this entire chapter is based. Namely, if a person will let go and let God, for example, have faith that whatever must happen to him to achieve his goal will indeed occur, all things become possible. One day I confronted Clarence and asked him to share with me his view of faith, and more specifically, his explanation of why he personally seemed to possess such a cornucopia of this important attribute. True to his nature, he explained to me he had not developed a complicated philosophy with respect to the subject. He said everything he believed about faith could be summarized in a simple definition. And it was this definition which gave him the strength he needed to endure the trials and tribulations in his own life. Faith, he said, is the ability to see the invisible and believe in the incredible. And that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. I have fallen in love with this particular definition and have shared it with countless numbers of people since Clarence first shared it with me. Using a slightly different vocabulary, I would make the observation: if you can show me a person who achieves great things, I can show you a person who has great faith in himself and in his ability to achieve what he images. In fact, there is absolutely no question in my mind that faith has always been the miracle worker throughout history. It is the connecting link between God and you, and therefore it is your most valuable non-physical possession. In truth, it is the cornerstone to everything you will ever build or achieve during the course of your entire lifetime. Comparatively few people today realize just how much faith in oneself, that part of oneself which is spiritually perfect, has to do with achievement, because the great majority of people never seem to conceive of faith as being a genuine creative force. Yet the truth is that not only is faith a bona fide power, but it is the greatest one we will ever encounter. In fact, I would go so far as to say that whatever you accomplish in your lifetime will be in direct proportion to the intensity and persistence of your faith. David and Goliath. Consider, for example, the biblical story of David and Goliath, which surely must rank as one of the greatest testaments ever written on the subject of faith. As you will recall, Goliath, the giant of Gath, came into the Israelite camp, boasting pompously and taunting the Israelites to select a man to do battle with him. The Israelites naturally were terrified, and not surprisingly, none of them leaped forward to accept the challenge. Sometime later, however, when Goliath returned to reiterate his challenge, David, an Israelite youth, overheard the giant's obnoxious boasting, and he stepped forward to pick up the gauntlet. Finally, after much pleading before his elders for the dubious honor of facing Goliath in battle, the youth was accorded the great privilege of going forth to do battle. The elders insisted, however, that David clothe himself in heavy protective armor. They also gave him a sword with which to smite his powerful adversary. But David said, I am not used to these things. I cannot fight with these handicaps. These are not my weapons. I have other weapons with which to fight the giant. So he stripped himself of all his armor and went into battle with no weapon other than a simple slingshot and a few pebbles which he had gathered from the nearby brook. When the giant leader of the Philistines, protected as he was with armor from head to toe, armed with mighty weapons, and preceded by his shield-bearers, saw the unarmed, unprotected Israelite youth approaching, he was infuriated. He said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Young David, however, never one to be intimidated, answered the giant, saying, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hands. While the giant Goliath placed his faith in physical objects like armor, swords, and shields, David placed his solely in an unseen God. The result, the young Israelite shepherd defeated his far mightier foe with nothing save a single stone from his sling. David struck Goliath, and the giant fell lifeless to the ground. By accepting the principle, let go and let God, and believing that whatever must happen for you to reach your goal will happen, like David, you too will successfully conquer the giant in your life. For example, you will witness the physical manifestation of your image, and in the proper time. You see, the trouble with those of us who fail to achieve what we desire is not that we lack the ability to do so, but that we lack the faith implicit in the let go and let God principle, which dictates whatever is necessary for us to reach our goal will indeed occur. We do not believe we can simply tap into the great spiritual reservoir that lies within us to make connection with divine force, all supply, or whatever else you wish to call the power which sustains each one of us. However, if you fail to make this connection in your own mind, or if you lack the divine self-confidence born of faith in omnipotence, you will never be what you long to be, or have what you rightfully deserve to have. All of your prayers will return to you unanswered. Your best efforts will bear no fruit. Your negative attitudes will thwart the realization of your goal. For a mind saturated with fear of failure or images of unwanted results can no more accomplish, create, or produce anything of value than a stone can violate the law of gravitation by flying upwards in the air. You must realize the Creator does not alter the law of gravitation to accommodate a person who walks off the roof of a house, even though the person may do it unconsciously or in a drugged state. Similarly, the creative principle of the law of achievement cannot be violated with impunity. Therefore, you will achieve what you desire, be what you long to be, only when you become obedient to that inexorable law of life. To recapitulate, the first step in the creative process is to relax and see yourself already in possession of the good that you desire. Build the image. The second step is to let go and let God. In working with Spirit, it helps to focus on the truth that Spirit is in all places at all times. Since this is so, it follows that you possess the godlike ability to tap into positive thoughts anytime you wish and anywhere you choose. Moreover, once you become aware of your kinship with the creative power, that you are in truth a child of Spirit, you cannot possibly be anything other than positive, forceful, radiant, and self-reliant in your dealings with the world, a conqueror of those forces which would attempt to drag you down or hold you back. Once this happens, all the forces in the universe will come together to help you reach your goal, or the manifestation of your image. Finally, gaining the understanding that you are a vital part of the great creative force of the universe, and are a living part of eternal Spirit, will ultimately transform the results that you are achieving in your life every day. Another thing you should know about spirit is that it is a power which is forever flowing into and through you. We also call this power thought. But as spirit or thought flows into you, you choose the image you will then form with it. Experiment for yourself. Sit back, relax, and then become fully aware of this great creative capacity. You can actually form one image or picture after another on the screen of your mind. Images of things which already exist physically, like your car, your home, your place of business, or images of things that do not yet exist, such as your short-term and long-term goals. But the point I want to impress upon you now is that although spirit is the very essence of your being, it will never move into form or into an image without your assistance. So those people who sit back and do nothing, saying, God will look after me, are just fooling themselves. For since it is true that God helps only those who first help themselves, it follows that you must always do your part to start the creative process in motion. You must always build the image and know in your heart the image will materialize. You must come to look upon God as being a great unseen force which inhabits every fiber of your being. And you must also understand that the instant you form the image in your mind, God will go to work in God's perfect way and move you into an entirely new vibration. For example, you will begin to feel different. So always remember, the new feeling coming over you is really God at work. And although you may sometimes express your elation by saying you feel enthusiastic, remember, the word enthusiasm is just a derivation from the early Greek entheos, meaning in God. Your enthusiastic attitude will, in turn, cause your actions to change, and you will start behaving differently. Moreover, not only will you begin to act differently yourself, but because of the new vibration you are in, you will begin to gravitate towards and attract to you other like-minded people. Strange and wonderful things will begin to happen to you, and with such regularity that you will be at a loss to explain or even comprehend what is going on. So don't even make the attempt. Just understand it is God's way, or the way of the creative force, and accept the good as it comes and expect more of the same in the future. The skeptics will begin to say, you are just lucky, and you should let it go at that. For as long as you continue to hold the image in your mind of the good you desire, you will always be rewarded. Just have faith that what should happen must happen, and in the right time it will happen. Always remember that the image which you keep affirming in your heart or your subconscious mind is being impressed upon spirit, and spirit has the ability to convert your present dreams into your future reality. On the surface, it might appear from time to time that things are not going well, and you may begin to worry you are moving in the wrong direction. But let me assure you, this will not be the case, as long as you keep the image of the good you desire firmly planted in your subconscious mind. For if you do this, you will continue to move in the only direction in which you can move in order to get to where you want to go. Don't forget, it is never sufficient to believe in yourself, divine self, only when you feel particularly enthusiastic, or when some particular good fortune has befallen you. It is never adequate to have faith sporadically, to get enthusiastic over your prospects, and then to undermine all of your mental kingdom. It won't do to keep dropping down again and again, like the frog trying to get out of the well, but is feeling weaker and more discouraged after each fall. Any person who starts that type of process in motion is letting go of his image of prosperity and is using his creative powers to build images of poverty instead. And as we have already said, God, being a just power, will always give you exactly what you have asked for. But always bear in mind, it is your innermost thoughts and images you are requesting, not the words to which you might only be paying lip service. Therefore, make it a habit to begin and end each day with a declaration of faith in yourself, your divine self, and in the power, whatever you choose to call it. Guard this faith zealously, as you would your most precious possession, and ensure that it never be imperiled by weak, downhearted, and negative thoughts. Doubts, fear, pessimism, and negative thinking poison the very source of life. They sap energy, enthusiasm, ambition, hope, faith, and everything else which makes life purposeful, joyful, and creative. You must consciously entertain only the mental allies of your ambition, and those attributes which will help you realize the manifestation of your goal. For when you are firmly grounded in faith, negative thoughts will have no power over you, because they will not be in harmonious vibration with your new image. You will be mentally strong through the conscious awareness of the God or power within you. When times get tough, when things get tough, you must get tougher, and you can. As Dr. Robert Schuller said, tough times never last, but tough people do. So if you find your faith slipping, or you find yourself running low on this great motor power which accomplishes so many wonderful things, you can do something about it. The following exercise works for me, it has for years, and I know it will work for you too. You can build huge reservoirs of mental power by simply employing a daily autosuggestive technique for the acquisition and strengthening of this greatest and most necessary of all human attributes, faith. Note that when you are giving yourself this mental treatment, you should always go off by yourself and speak out loud to yourself in a firm, deciding tone of voice. Verbalize what you are saying just as earnestly as if you were speaking to someone else whom you wish to impress with the great importance of what you are asserting. When you speak to yourself, begin with your own name and continue as follows. Bob, you are a child of God, and the being God made was never intended for the sort of weak, negative life you are leading. God made you for success, not failure. God never made anyone to be a failure. You are perverting the great object of your existence by giving way to these miserable doubts of yourself, of your ability to be what you desire with all your heart to be. You should be ashamed to go out amongst your associates with a long, sad, dejected face, as though you were a misfit, as though you lacked creative power within, as though you did not have the ability to do what your Creator sent you here to do. You were made to express what you long to express. Why not do this? Why not stand and walk like a conqueror, like a David who slew Goliath, instead of giving way to discouragement, doubt, and carrying on like a failure? The image of perfection, the image of your Creator, lies within you. You must bring it to the center of your conscious thought and express it to the world. Don't disgrace your Maker by violating that image, by being everything but the magnificent success God intended you to be. There is a tremendous achievement force, an upbuilding and strengthening power in self-assertion, in the asserting of the I am. This is not egotism, not the glorification of the parody of the man or woman which wrong thinking or wrong living has made. It is simply the assertion of your kinship with the force, a strong appeal in the first person to your other self, your ideal self, the self you feel you are intended by your Creator to be, and which sometime, somewhere, you shall most certainly be. Do not force it to happen. There should be no force associated with the manifestation of your image, because force negates. That is because trying to force things to happen is generally caused by trying to do it your way, and your way is not necessarily God's way. Therefore, learn to follow a quiet voice within that speaks in feelings rather than words. Follow what you hear inside rather than what others may be telling you to do. Be aware that the quiet voice within often tells you to do things which run counter to the way most people live their lives. But do not be unduly concerned by this, for many of the world's greatest leaders were considered heretics by their peers, simply because they chose to march to the tune of a different drummer. These individuals were following the quiet voice within them, rather than doing the things considered fashionable in their day. So let your image sink deep into the treasury of your subconscious mind. Let yourself get totally emotionally involved with your image, because by doing this, you are letting go and letting God. And Spirit, moving within, will never lead you in any direction but the right one. Understand, moreover, that if you should falter for any reason and go your own way, the minute you recognize your error and reaffirm your image, Spirit will pick up right where it left off when you chose to take over the controls. Then you will instantaneously be back in the right vibration and on the correct pathway, leading to success in life. First principle, relax and see yourself already in possession of the good that you desire. Second principle, let go and let God. Chapter 5, Expect an Abundance. Expect an abundance. The mind is a powerful magnet, and as such, it attracts whatever corresponds to its ruling state. Expectation dictates what that ruling state will be, and therefore governs what corresponds to the mind and is attracted into your life. Expectation can be either a blessing or a curse, but either way, it is certainly one of the most powerful unseen forces in your life. What are you doing to increase your income? If your answer to that question is nothing, or if you are just beginning to think seriously about what you could do, you have probably not yet grasped the ideas presented in the previous chapters. You should be aware that the chapters in this book resemble the individual pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Each chapter is related one to the other in such a way that if we put them all together, we can see the entire picture. Since you are now well into the heart of the book, I would ask you to pay particularly close attention to the ideas which follow, so you can use them to successfully tie all the pieces together. You will soon discover that if the ideas in this chapter are applied with intelligence, expectation can be the triggering mechanism which attracts into your life every good you desire. However, if you do not exercise extreme caution, expectation can also turn just as rapidly into a destructive, lethal enemy. Therefore, you must be cognizant of how you are exercising this invisible but powerful force. I believe you already understand you cannot have wealth in your material world until you have first visualized the wealth in your mind. But what does this really mean? It means that before any of us can even begin to overcome the poverty which surrounds us in our external world, we must first conquer the impoverishment that is buried deep within ourselves. In the preceding pages, I explained how prosperity, properly understood, is simply the inward awareness of the opulence, wholeness, and completeness that abounds within the spiritual realm. In other words, it is impossible to feel poor when you are conscious of being enveloped in the protective care of a loving God, universal spirit, or whatever else you may wish to call the spiritual center of our universe. Let me repeat, there never is and there never has been any lack of supply, other than that which we have created for ourselves because of our own limited awareness. The light bulb tale. The following story should help underscore this great truth about your infinite source of supply. Visualize, if you will, a poor couple who have spent their entire lives living in the backwaters of civilization. Then imagine them suddenly transported to a small village where, to their astonishment, they discover that their new home is being lighted by electricity. Since they have had no previous experience with that force, in fact, they have never even seen an electric light before, they are completely mesmerized by the little 8-candle power electric bulbs which light their home. Several months pass by, and eventually the couple start to regard the light bulbs as an accepted facet of modern life. However, one day, a smooth-talking salesman appears at their door, telling them their 8-candle power electric bulbs are no longer adequate for their needs. He tells them they should buy the new 60-candle powered bulbs, which have just come on the market. Since the couple has now become slightly more adventuresome, they agree to let the salesman demonstrate his newfangled product. As soon as the new bulb is plugged in and the electricity turned on, the couple becomes transfixed once again. For not only does the new bulb emit a light, it actually illuminates the entire room. Never in their wildest fantasy had the couple ever imagined that the source of the new flood of illumination had been there all the time. Nor had they realized this enormously increased light could originate from the same current which fed their little 8-candle bulb. It's strange. We smile at the naivete demonstrated by this poor couple, but the truth is, most of us are even less aware of our own power than this couple was of the power of the electric current. Or like the couple in the story, we never even dreamed that the infinite current which surrounds us could flood our lives with a light more magnificent than the most powerful light bulb ever devised. We never grasped the simple truth that all we need to do to improve our results is to plug a larger, more prosperous idea into the infinite current of life. Instead, most of us strangle our supply with energy-impoverished thoughts of doubt and fear, which entirely cut off the inflow of prosperity. I want to exhort you, therefore, to resolve to change your habitual pattern of thinking now. That's right, change it now. And remember, the stream of plenty always flows towards the open, expectant mind. You must understand you already have in substance, if not in physical form, everything necessary to produce prosperity in your material world. The two determining factors for you to attain the results you want are 1, desire, and 2, expectation. You might have been living up to this point the way the masses live their entire lives, simply because you are harboring the false assumption that desire is the only thing which you need to reach your goal. But you must understand, if your desire is not combined with the expectation that you will receive what you desire, you will find yourself continually frustrated and disappointed whenever you begin working towards any kind of material goal. When you cast your mind back over the experiences of your own life, you will soon realize that whenever you did reach a desired goal, you not only desired that goal, but you actually expected to attain it as well. Let me repeat, desire without expectation is nothing more than wishful thinking. And as we have already pointed out, since the vast majority of people wish positive but expect negative, they seldom attain what they are after. In his magnificent book, The Science of Getting Rich, the author, Wallace D. Wattles, gave us an excellent definition of desire. He said, desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without, through your action. In other words, your ideal, dream, or goal, this wealth you wish to see materialize, can only become a desire once it has been properly planted in universal creative intelligence, more commonly referred to as the subconscious mind. However, once your desire has been firmly established, it is the expectant attitude which ensures that your goal or dream is not uprooted or replaced by any opposing or competing ideas. In an effort to help you kindle this expectant attitude towards real wealth, let us journey together through some of the preceding chapters in this book. As you will remember, we began by discussing money. We attempted to understand the true nature of money, and we arrived at the conclusion it is a useful, obedient servant. However, like all servants, we learned it is useful to us only when it is being employed. Therefore, we concluded money must always be kept working or otherwise circulating. For if it is not, as we have already mentioned, it will become as useless as old newspapers stashed away in an attic. Next, we explored the idea relating to exactly how much money you want. You became aware of the fact it is necessary to be very specific about how much money you need to provide the things you want, to live in the style you choose. Once this figure had been decided upon, we then examined the importance of building the image of ourselves already in possession of this wealth on the screen of our conscious mind. We also talked briefly about the manner in which images are formed and the role they play in our lives. Then we examined the idea of consciousness and how it was imperative to develop the prosperity which we seek in our mind first, before we can ever attain it in our bank books. We learned how we had to bathe our subconscious mind in a concept of prosperity, and how we had to see wealth as being already in our possession. In the chapter Let Go and Let God, we became aware we were co-creators. We became aware of how we had the ability in our conscious mind to choose any thoughts we wanted, to build any images which we chose to build. We then learned how we could turn that image over to our subconscious mind, the spiritual center of our being, and that part of us which takes any idea or image we give to it, then willingly accepts it and instantly begins to move it into physical form in our world. We discovered that when we truly understand this creative process of life and our role in it, expectation becomes a natural mindset, regardless of how things might appear in our outside world or what others might be saying to us. We were told this absolute and unshakable faith or belief in the fact that our images are moved into form is essential if we are to become successful in our lives. We also gained an awareness that all of this will happen once we begin to see ourselves as non-physical entities encased in physical bodies. Once we realize our bodies are nothing other than the physical manifestation of our non-physical selves, we will understand they are obedient servants of our mind, and they move and have their being according to the vibratory rate of our mind. Only then will we be consciously aware that everything which now exists in our physical world was first preceded by the images we chose to plant in our marvelous mind. And everything which is going to appear in the future in our physical world will be nothing other than a carbon copy of the picture we are now in the process of developing. You must reach this stage in your mental development where you don't just believe that your image of material wealth will manifest in form, but you actually know it will. It is at that point you will begin to expect to receive the physical expression of your image of wealth. No one and no thing will be able to cause you to see in your mind anything but that. Always remember, the truth is not always in the appearance of things. An elderly wealthy gentleman being interviewed by a newspaper reporter was asked at what point he became successful. His answer was, "I was successful when I was sleeping on a park bench because I knew where I was and I knew where I was going." At this juncture in the book, you know where you are and you know where you are going, so expect to get there. Your desire is the motor power which will move you in the direction of your dream, and expectation is the attractive force that will move your dream in your direction. So see yourself moving towards the wealth you visualize, and see the wealth you visualize being attracted to you. Know that you will come in contact with the wealth that is moving to you, and at the right time. No one knows what period of time must elapse, so don't become impatient if it doesn't materialize overnight. All we know for sure is a certain period of time must elapse, and the period of time which your image must take to materialize is governed by the law of gender. The law of gender decrees there is a gestation or incubation period for the manifestation of all seed, and make no mistake about it, the image of wealth you chose to build on the screen of your conscious mind and then turned over to your universal mind is a seed, and it is growing into physical form in the most fertile field that you could ever conceive of. It is not necessary at this point for anyone else to see this new wealth. It is not even necessary for anyone else to believe you will receive it. The only thing necessary is that you see it and you believe it. You see, the premise that Napoleon Hill built his life's work on is absolutely true. Anything the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. Expressed another way, as a person thinketh in their heart, so are they. The early Greeks referred to the subconscious mind as the heart. Note that your subconscious mind can no more change or alter your image than an ordinary mirror can reflect back to you an image different than the objects you are holding in front of it. But remember, as you think, so are you, does not mean as you tell people you think, or as you would wish the world to believe you think. It means your innermost thoughts, which only you control, know the truth. That is what you expect, so that is what you attract, and that is what you will ultimately receive. Through studying the power of your subconscious mind, or studying in depth the power or modus operandi of spirit, it will become easier and easier for you to come to expect the good you desire. For all things are possible in spirit, because in its original state, spirit is a sensitive, unseen, creative substance whose sole purpose is expansion and fuller expression. In other words, growth. However, spirit or creative substance can only reproduce, expand, and express itself in a greater way in accordance with the limitation placed upon the instrument through which it expresses itself. Since spirit is flowing to and through you, you are the instrument. Therefore, the image or the ideas you hold in your mind dictate the limits which are placed on the spiritual power flowing to and through you. In this respect, you may be compared to the light bulb the elderly couple had in their home. You are an instrument through which spirit flows, just as a light bulb is an instrument through which electricity flows. When the old couple plugged in the 8-candle powered bulb, the electricity was limited in its expression by the power of the bulb. However, when the salesman plugged in the 60-candle powered bulb, the electricity was free to express itself to a greater degree. And yet, even then, it was limited by the form through which it flowed, namely the new bulb. A 100-candle powered bulb would have permitted an even greater expression, and so on and so on. Therefore, if you held an image of poverty, that is what you will have seen expressed in your results, or your material world. However, since you are now holding an image of prosperity, that is the image which you will see expressed in your material world. The non-physical creative substance, which is spirit, flows to and through the seed and expresses itself in its polar opposite, physical form. As we have discussed on previous pages, the modus operandi of spirit is law, and of course, the law of attraction is a cause, and growth or expansion is the effect. So keep visualizing yourself as a perfectly endowed spiritual instrument, without limitations of any kind. For if you do, you will find it easy, in fact natural, to expect the good you desire. You will understand that doubt simply obstructs the unfoldment of your desire. So when you continually originate images of doubt, you know you will never see the materialization of the image you desire. Only the reproductive creative spirit of life knows what you think, until your thoughts become physical facts and materialize in your body or your affairs. Then everyone with whom you come in contact may know, because the intelligent energy rewards you openly by reproducing your thoughts in physical form. As a man thinketh, as you think, that is what you become, should be kept in the forefront of our mind constantly. For when you expect something wonderful to happen, that is watching and praying without ceasing. At those times when we are not feeling quite up to par physically, or our mind is becoming clouded with doubt, we should realize it is time to pray with all the more conviction, or work at developing a stronger feeling of expectation. You must guard your mind constantly against doubt, because it is a crippling vibration. Whereas most of the preceding pages have been dedicated to the power of positive thoughts, namely the building of the image of prosperity, doubt is the flip side of the coin, or negative thinking. And when you are entertaining doubt, what you are actually doing is creating images of things you don't want. Moreover, justifying your doubt to yourself by originating reasons for it, or rationalizing, will do you absolutely no good. For you cannot strike a bargain with your subconscious mind, because the subconscious has no sense of fairness, no sense of humor, and it cannot even determine what is good or what is bad for you. Every image just is to the subconscious mind. Therefore, your negative, worrisome, doubtful images will be accepted just as quickly and as willingly as will your images of prosperity. The instant you become aware you are entertaining thoughts which create doubt, become quiet, start relaxing, and image yourself already in possession of the prosperity you desire. When you do this, you are altering the mental current which is flowing into your marvelous mind. Expect with all your consciousness to receive your good in your material world. You think in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but your looking glass. James Allen wrote those words 3/4 of a century ago, but they are still true today, and they will always remain true in the future. So program your personal computer to expect good results, and that is exactly what you will receive. Pat and John's story. As I was writing these lines, I received a telephone call from a beautiful couple, Pat and John, whom I would definitely number among my close friends. They called to tell me they were moving into their new home the following Tuesday. I was elated to hear this delightful news. You see, less than 2 months earlier, I spent approximately 5 hours talking with them about the image-making concept and the awesome power of the expectant attitude. During the course of the conversation, I asked John what he wanted more than anything else in the world. And after a long period of silence, he looked me squarely in the eye and said, I would like Pat, Tony, Pat's daughter, and me to be in a house of our own by Christmas. And I would like my son to spend Christmas Day with us. Although John's son lives with his mother, he and John have a very warm relationship. I then asked him why he didn't just go out and make his dream become a reality. He replied he couldn't, because he lacked the money to do so. I then had the audacity to remind John that all things are possible for those who believe, and therefore he definitely could make his dream come true. Perhaps he just didn't know how to go about doing it. The three of us then spent about an hour discussing the kind of house they wanted, until we all had a very clear image of their dream home etched upon the screens of our minds. We talked about expectation, and I explained to them that many good things would begin to happen for them the instant they began to expect to be in the house for Christmas. Sure enough, the first thing that happened to them, once this new attitude permeated their consciousness, was that both their minds moved over to the how-to side of the ledger. New ideas began to flow like water, and questions came forth in rapid succession. How much would a house like this cost? How much would they have to put down? Where would they find such a house? To get answers to their questions, they needed the expertise of a real estate agent. So I suggested John call Natalie Kaufman, a lady I know who is a real estate professional, and to tell her of his dream. He should ask her what he would need in the way of finances to make his dream or image become a reality. Finally, I told him he would have to get busy focusing all of his conscious attention on earning the amount of money he would need to achieve his goal, and he would have to actually expect to earn whatever the amount was, and in the allotted time. Surprisingly, it turned out that the amount of money they required was far less than the figure they had previously thought it would be. Moreover, since John and Pat are both commissioned salespeople, their road to achieving this financial goal was not riddled with as many obstacles as is the road for many other people. Nevertheless, without going into detail about the many hurdles they did have to overcome, suffice it to say, with Natalie's help, Pat and John succeeded. Next Tuesday, they move into their new house. Next Saturday is Christmas Day. Just before I hung up the receiver, I congratulated them on their new home, and I asked John if his son would be spending Christmas Day with them. Quietly, but with a voice brimming over with happiness, he answered, yes, he is. And it sure makes a difference when you expect what you do want rather than expecting what you don't want, doesn't it, Mom? I just smiled and said, yes, John, it sure does. Many people today live their entire lives on the basis of seeing is believing. That is to say, the only images they get emotionally involved with are the ones they can discern with their physical senses. But the individuals of real vision down through the ages have always known the overriding principle is, what you see is what you get. Expressed somewhat differently, what this means is that the images in people's minds actually precede the concrete images which pervade our material world. Therefore, you should be aware of the fact that the fascinating physical world we see before us, with all of its conveniences for making our lives more comfortable, has been built largely by image makers. Men and women of vision who knew what they could do and expected everything else to fall into place, regardless of what their critics might say to the contrary. For example, two young mechanics from Ohio introduced us to an entirely new kingdom by building and holding an image of an airplane in flight. But if they had not expected to succeed, they would surely have quit the first time they met with defeat. Since they did not, we are now only hours away from anywhere in the world. In fact, we can even reach other planets within a very short span of time. Edison built and held an image which illuminated the entire world, and as a result, we no longer need to spend half of our days groping in darkness. You should realize that you too can change your world, just as John and Pat did, by building an image in your mind of exactly the way you would like to live. But always remember, you will only receive what you truly expect, not what you only wish for. There are 3 certain steps for achieving prosperity in all areas of your life. Number 1, build the image in your mind. Number 2, turn it over to Spirit. Let go and let God. Number 3, expect with your heart and soul that Spirit will reward you openly for your faith. Expect an abundance. Chapter 6, The Law of Vibration and Attraction. Thoughts Are Things, by Henry Van Dyke. I hold it true that thoughts are things. They're endowed with bodies and breath and wings, and that we send them forth to fill the world with good results or ill. That which we call our secret thought speeds forth to earth's remotest spot, leaving its blessings or its woes like tracks behind it as it goes. We build our future thought by thought, for good or ill, yet know it not. Yet so the universe was wrought. Thought is another name for faith. Choose then thy destiny and wait, for love brings love, and hate brings hate. The law of vibration and attraction. Any idea that is held in the mind, that is either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical forms available. By Andrew Carnegie. Dr. Werner von Braun. In an interview held with Dr. Werner von Braun in February of 1976, Dr. von Braun was quoted as follows: "After years of probing the spectacular mysteries of the universe, I have been led to a firm belief in the existence of God. The grandeur of the cosmos serves only to confirm my belief in the certainty of a creator. I just cannot envision this whole universe coming into being without something like divine will. The natural laws of the universe are so precise that we have no difficulty building a spaceship to fly to the moon and can time the flight with the precision of a fraction of a second. These laws must have been set by somebody." Dr. von Braun went on to say that science and religion, properly understood, are not antagonistic pursuits. On the contrary, he affirmed, they are sister disciplines. For through the scientific method, one learns more about creation, whereas by virtue of the study of religion, one gains a greater insight into the Creator. By employing the tools of science, man attempts to harness the forces of nature which surround him. Through religion, on the other hand, he endeavors to control the forces of nature which are at work within him. After a brief pause, he added, "There would not be a single great accomplishment in the history of mankind without faith. Any person who strives to accomplish something needs a degree of faith in himself, and when he takes on a challenge that requires more and more moral strength than he can muster, he needs faith in God, or whatever you choose to call the power." Years before anyone would accept the idea of a man traveling to the moon and back, Dr. von Braun was asked what it would take to make a rocket to reach the moon. He replied simply, "The will to do it." Von Braun was clearly a brilliant man who possessed a great understanding of life and a tremendous awareness of the laws of the universe. In fact, he is considered by many experts in the field to be the father of the space program. Like all great achievers, moreover, he had gained a profound insight into the spiritual laws of life, and one of those laws is the law of attraction. This is the law I would like to delve into now. Indeed, an understanding of this particular law is actually the key to understanding this entire book. The reason this is so is that the law of attraction is the underlying principle which governs the level of your personal prosperity. However, to help you achieve a really solid grasp of this concept, it will be necessary for us to focus briefly on another law, namely the law of vibration. The law of vibration accounts for the difference between mind and matter, between the physical and the non-physical world. According to the law of vibration, we postulate that everything vibrates or moves. Nothing sits idle. Everything is in a constant state of motion, and therefore there is no such thing as inertia or a state of rest. From the most ethereal to the most gross form of matter, everything is in a constant state of vibration. Moving from the lowest to the highest degree of vibration, we discover there are literally millions upon millions of intervening levels or degrees, from the electron to the universe. Everything is in a vibratory motion. Energy is manifested in all the varying degrees of vibration. Rates of vibration are called frequencies, and the higher the frequency, the more potent the force. Since thought is one of the highest forms of vibration, it is very potent in nature and therefore must be understood by all of us. Now, the law of vibration may be explained in many different ways, depending upon the purpose for which it is being explained. In this chapter, however, it is our intention to confine our inquiry to thoughts alone, so we may thereby improve our understanding of the law of attraction. Vibration. To vibrate means to move backwards and forwards, to oscillate, to shake, to quiver, to swing, to waver, to cause to quiver. To obtain a more graphic conceptualization of the idea of vibration, just stretch out one of your arms straight in front of you, then hold it perfectly still. While you are holding it still and are unable to perceive any motion in that arm at all, know that the electrons which compose the arm are moving, shaking, quivering, or vibrating at the rate of 186,300 miles per second. The arm appears still to you, but in reality, it is in a constant state of motion. Of course, although such motion is imperceptible to the naked eye, under a high-powered microscope, it would become very apparent indeed. Now begin to shake your arm. You yourself are now causing the arm to vibrate. It was already vibrating of its own accord in obedience to the law of vibration, which teaches that everything is in a constant motion. But you have stepped up or increased the rate of that vibration. You have pushed down on the vibratory accelerator pedal, as it were. Positive and negative personalities. John Milton said, "The mind in itself and in its own place can make a hell out of heaven or a heaven out of hell." People, as a rule, can be classified as positive personalities, optimists, or negative personalities, pessimists. Those individuals who are positive in their thought always tend to look upon the brighter side of life, with their faces turned towards the sunshine. They attempt to see the good even in the bad. Such individuals habitually think thoughts of a positive nature, and they are a blessing to the world. They are in a positive vibration, and therefore attract other positive personalities to them. Negative personalities, on the other hand, habitually look upon the dark, gloomy, and depressing side of life. Even the good holds some bad for them. They dwell on the bad and the negative. They think about it, anticipate it, expect it, and invariably they receive what they have been seeking. Due to the negative vibration which they keep themselves in, they of course attract other miserable personalities to them. As you're already aware, misery loves company. Their state of mind can be compared to the person who, upon being asked how he felt, said, "I feel all right today, but I might feel bad tomorrow." Negative personalities are depressing to everyone around them. Their faces take on the expression in physical form of the negative thoughts which they are holding in their minds. Each day one can observe such individuals passing on the street. No cheer, no joy radiates from them, just gloom, frowns, and hostility. Having created their own hell for themselves, they seem to enjoy wallowing in it. The law of polarity and relativity states that for every positive there is an equal and opposite negative. Therefore, both of these personality types are necessary, so you can develop the awareness to distinguish one from the other, and in that manner, choose the one which will advance you in life. You do have free will. You can choose which of these two personality types you wish to adopt. Therefore, if a person is constantly negative but tires of that state, the person may, through awareness and proper effort, change himself into a positive personality type of individual. Understand this. The law of vibration will give people the awareness they require to make the personality changes they desire. The brain, the body. The human body, believe it or not, is one of the most efficient electrical instruments in this entire universe. The human brain, similarly, is probably the most efficient electrical instrument ever evolved. Both are truly marvelous. The brain is the part of the body where all manner of frequencies are transformed from one frequency level into another. In the brain, for example, sensations are transformed into muscular action. Sound, heat, light, and thought are also, each in their turn, transformed into other frequencies, each affecting the body. Within the brain, there are centers which control and regulate the functioning of all organs and parts of the body. By means of the proper stimulation of these centers, the functioning of the organs may thereby be controlled. In our seminars, we refer to this phenomena as the vibratory control of the body. In the final analysis, the brain is simply a vibratory instrument. To begin to understand its functioning, therefore, you must undertake the study of the law of vibration. Since the early 1940s, we have had at our disposal the EEG, the electroencephalograph, which reads the electrical activity of the brain, and the electrocardiograph, which traces the electrical changes which occur during heart contractions. Therefore, vibrations are certainly not something which are new to us. Indeed, all of us have an awareness of them. However, the problem which we encounter is that the vast majority of people are not aware of the connection between their vibrations and their results in life. It is, unfortunately, a very common sight to see people in bad or confused vibrations, busily attempting, through force, to achieve good results. However, due to the negative vibration which they are in, they are continually being bombarded by all manner of negative people and situations, which by law are being attracted to them. Consequently, at some point, their battle must become overwhelming for them. These people may be likened to a person who is jumping off the top of a building and trying to go up at one and the same time. The result in either case would be equally predictable and equally disastrous. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates. For you to gain a better awareness of how you are to take control over your results, or to better understand how and why the thoughts and things come into your life as they do, you must go back to the basic premise which we started, namely, everything vibrates and nothing stands still. There is, in truth, no such thing as inertia. Scientists today support this thesis, and every new scientific discovery tends to lend even more credibility to it. A corollary of this basic law of life is that energy can be neither created nor destroyed. For since everything is in a perpetual state of change or transmutation, being manifested in all varying degrees of vibration, it follows that nothing has a beginning and nothing has an end. However, by virtue of your free will and the many other mental factors in your marvelous mind, you have the co-creative ability to cause vibratory changes to take place at your bidding. The cause for our lack of ability to exercise this tremendous power for good is nothing other than our own ignorance about the law of vibration. Let there be light, your connecting link. Slowly but surely, let us see with our inner eye of understanding how you may connect with the good that you desire to improve the quality of your own life. Two objects whose electromagnetic field are the same are operating on the same frequency. Therefore, we can say they are in resonance, in harmony, or in rapport. When two objects are in resonance or vibrating at the same speed, vibratory rate may be transmitted from one to the other through the medium of the electron. Resonance as a field of study is concerned with the electromagnetic fields surrounding objects. For example, we find a globe in a chandelier will vibrate when in resonance with a certain key on a piano, yet it will not vibrate to any other note on the piano keyboard. The two objects under discussion are composed of entirely different material, and they have completely different shapes. Still, they are in resonance with one another, due to the fact that their ultimate magnetic fields are the same. They are within the same sphere of relative motion, and this holds true irrespective of their size, shape, or the elements of which they are composed. All electromagnetic waves, or quantums, have their own particular rate or frequency, which corresponds to the number of changes in direction they make per second. The electromagnetic wave spectrum is simply a scale of vibration, and it is subdivided into specific regions. Nevertheless, one must always remember these regions are not actual divisions, but merely arbitrary spaces covering frequencies that manifest in our senses in different ways. Each region actually blends into the one above and the one below, and in truth, there are no definite lines of demarcation. Everything is an expression of the same thing. Everything in this entire universe is connected to everything else in this entire universe through the law of vibration. Just as the colors in a rainbow are connected in such a way that you are not able to tell where one color stops and the other begins, so too are you unable to distinguish where one thing starts and another one stops. Everything in this universe is connected to everything else in this universe, just as the water that boils is connected to the steam into which it transmutes, and the steam is connected to the ether or air into which it changes. You too are connected to everything in the universe. Whether you can see it with the naked eye or not is unimportant. The only difference which exists between one thing and another relates to the density or the amplitude of their vibration. Therefore, as soon as you choose certain thoughts, your brain cells are affected. These cells vibrate and send off electromagnetic waves. When you concentrate on those thoughts, you increase the amplitude of vibration of those cells, and the electric waves in turn become much more potent. Know it is you who is originating those electric waves, and know that you are also determining the density of them by your own free will. You must also know, since you are originating these electric waves, your whole being is being put into that particular vibration. We have already covered the point that two objects may be of entirely different material and shape, and yet still be in resonance. This is due to the fact that their ultimate magnetic fields are the same, because they are within the same sphere of relative motion. Keep in mind that resonance is the factor governing the transmutation of vibrations. When you hold the image of your goal on the screen of your mind in the present tense, you are vibrating in harmony, in resonance, with every particle of energy necessary for the manifestation of your image on the physical plane. By holding that image, these particular particles of energy are moving towards you, attraction, and you are moving towards them, because that is the law. You, the earth, and the universe are all but degrees in one scale, and all are in their basic nature the same, the difference being solely a matter of degree or rate of vibration or frequency. All things are merely manifestations of energy or spirit. When the world comes to understand this great truth, we will be aware that all people are the same. They only appear to be different. The true dividing lines for mankind are not borders, colors, or language, but simply ignorance and its polar opposite, understanding. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Helping others feel better. You automatically like people who cause you to feel good. It would necessarily follow, therefore, that others will like you when you cause them to feel good, or when you move them into a more positive vibration. Example: vibratory control of the body, mind, and soul of a person gives you a means for the restoration of positive vibration through the medium of resonant electric waves of the brain cells from you to another person. As already stated, the human body, including the brain, is a high-powered electrical instrument. Therefore, you are a veritable broadcasting station relative to other people. When the tune-in between you and them is being completed, or when the composite personality has been established between you and the other person receives and becomes conscious of the vibrating thought being broadcast by you. Under the law of perpetual transmission and transmutation of energy, the other person, being a low potential of energy, takes on this added energy, which is being sent out by you. And like a weak battery, the other person becomes recharged, more energetic, and more positive as a result of his contact with you. The process of transmitting energy between you and the other person is exactly the same process which takes place between the broadcasting station and the radio. That is to say, laws which are identical in nature govern both phenomena. Vibrations and attitude. Every physical thing throws off a vibration. Everything which you see, hear, smell, taste, or touch throws off a vibration because these things, like everything else, are in a constant state of motion. Whenever you get near enough to them to enter into their sphere of vibration, you will be affected by that vibration, whether you realize it or not. Have you ever noticed, for example, how peaceful you feel or vibrate while walking alone in the woods? The law operates exactly in the same way in the mental realm. For when a person thinks a thought, it means the person has consciously or unconsciously started a group of brain cells vibrating abnormally. Once these brain cells, being things, begin to vibrate abnormally, they throw off a wave of electronic energy, which moves out seeking a place to land. If you are in the sphere or space of their vibrations, and you happen to have similar cells which are in rapport, in harmony or agreement with the ones vibrating in the other person's brain, then you receive these vibrations and are affected mentally by them, either negatively or positively. It is clear that everyone in sales or management should thoroughly understand this information. Let us suppose that another person is vibrating to anger concepts. If you are the type of person who becomes easily angered, and you happen to enter the vibratory field of those anger vibrations, then those vibrations will strike the anger cells in your own brain. A condition of resonance being present, these vibrations will start your brain cells vibrating, and your entire being will move into that vibration, and you will become irritated or angry, even though you may or may not know the cause of your own anger. If you do not understand what has happened, you will, of course, be at a loss to change the conditions which caused the effect in the first place. The same principle applies to all mental vibrations, for as soon as a person starts to think, he thereby starts brain cells vibrating. Energy is released, therefore, in the form of electrons, which travel out according to the intensity of the thought involved. Whoever stops that energy is affected by it. But bear in mind, the only thing which stops a thought is that which resonates with that thought. This means if you should run into an electromagnetic vibratory field of negative thoughts, you will, if you are that type of person, become negative yourself. Conversely, if you run into a positive vibratory field, you will experience the opposite of the negative, namely the positive. Since the air we breathe is literally filled with both types of vibrations, they are constantly bouncing into your brain. As a result, you could become like a ship without a rudder, tossed about at the mercy of whatever is vibrating or in the air. However, once you understand the law of vibration, you are in a position to insulate yourself against the negative vibrations. You can then be in control of yourself in the true sense of the word, and you will begin to attract to you the things and circumstances that you choose. Become a mental magnet. Attract what you need for the physical manifestation of your image. If it is true that energy, or spirit, is neither created nor destroyed, and everything in its original state is either energy or spirit, it necessarily follows that everything you will ever want is already here. It is simply a matter of choosing the thoughts which will put you into harmonious vibration with the good that you desire. Everything you are seeking is seeking you in return. Therefore, everything you want is already yours. So you don't have to get anything. It is simply a matter of becoming more aware of what you already possess. The moment you bring your life into harmony with the law, into harmony with the current of divine order, you will find the negative will have taken wings, for its cause will have been removed, and you will no longer attract what you don't want. The secret to receiving on the physical plane the results you desire is always locked into the law of attraction. This entire book has been designed to help you understand how to get into harmonious vibration with the good you desire, and then how to stay in that positive vibration, so you will begin to attract whatever you need for your image of prosperity to move into form. The acorn analogy. In Raymond Hollywell's magnificent book, Working with the Law, Hollywell points out in the chapter entitled The Law of Success the following: all of the processes of nature are successful. Nature knows no failures. She never plans anything but success. She aims at results in every form and manner. To succeed in the best and fullest sense of the term, we must, with nature as our model, copy her methods. In her principles and laws, we shall discover all of the secrets of success. Keep in mind that everything in this universe you can see with the naked eye, and everything you cannot see is an expression of spirit. Also bear in mind that spirit operates by exact laws. You are subject to those laws in just the same manner nature is. Therefore, Hollywell is right. We definitely should copy nature's methods. For years, I have held up an acorn in the seminar and used it as a device for helping people to gain a better understanding of how the law of attraction actually works in their life. So please visualize, if you will, an acorn. Then think, really think, about what it is you are looking at. Although the acorn may appear to be a solid object, by now you should clearly understand that the acorn, like everything else which appears to be solid, is in truth a mass of molecules at a very high speed of vibration. Within the acorn, there is a nucleus or a pattern plan that dictates the vibratory rate at which these molecules will move. Moreover, the same principle holds true for all seeds. In other words, every seed has a nucleus or a pattern plan within it, which dictates the vibration it will be in, and which governs thereby the end product into which it will expand or grow. I believe you are aware of this fact. Everything in the universe is governed by a basic law, either create or disintegrate. Therefore, it follows that if something is not in the process of growing, it must, by the law of its being, be dying. For example, so long as the acorn is kept out of the earth, it is slowly but surely disintegrating. However, as soon as you plant the acorn in the earth, the pattern plan, or the vibratory rate of the acorn, sets up an attractive force, and the acorn begins to attract everything that vibrates in harmony with it. If you were able to observe with the naked eye exactly what is taking place, you would see a parade of particles of energy, a never-ending stream of them, marching in a very orderly manner toward the acorn. As they came in contact with the molecules making up the acorn, they would join, marry, become one, and of course, the acorn would expand, become larger, grow. Now consider this. If you were to put 2 drops of water and 2 drops of oil on an arborite table, and then you were to move them together, the 2 drops of water would resonate and become one larger drop of water as they came in contact with each other. On the other hand, however, if you were to move the water toward the oil, they would actually repel each other because they are not in harmonious vibration. Likewise with the acorn. The only things which join with the acorn are those particles of energy which are vibrating in harmony with it. All the other particles of energy which make up the earth are repelled. As the acorn expands from the never-ending stream of molecules which are attracted to it, little shoots begin to come out of the bottom and out of the top of it. These shoots in turn begin to develop into roots. As they grow or expand and burst through the earth into the earth's atmosphere, this attractive force continues, and particles of energy from the atmosphere are attracted to it, just as the particles of energy in the earth were attracted to it. As the acorn continues to expand, at some point it ceases to be an acorn and it begins to become an oak tree. The roots, the trunk, the bark, the branches, the twigs, the leaves are all in the universe, and they are attracted to the acorn because of the nucleus or the pattern plant which rests within the seed. Now, unlike the human creature, the acorn does not have the ability to change its vibratory rate. It can therefore only grow into what it has been programmed to grow into, namely an oak tree. You are much like the acorn in many respects. For example, you are also a seed relative to the whole scheme of things. However, the difference between you and the acorn is that since you are a co-creator, you can choose your own programming. Therefore, the image you choose to hold on the screen of your conscious mind and you plant deeply in the treasury of your subconscious mind is the pattern plant or the nucleus, which determines what you will eventually grow into. It dictates the vibration you will be in and also controls what you will attract to you and what you will repel. This is an orderly universe. Nothing happens by accident. The images which you plant in your marvelous mind instantly set up an attractive force, which governs your results in life. You must remember, though, if your image is continually fluctuating, you will continually be growing into something different, and that sets in motion a most chaotic process. Unfortunately, those individuals who are unaware of these very exact laws are planting images of plenty in their mind one minute and then images of poverty the next. They are continually switching vibrations, so they are attracting good things one minute and then bad things the next. The sad truth is, the vast majority of people spend their entire lives oscillating between these two extreme positions, with the resulting effect that their lives become disordered and chaotic to the nth degree. Although it is true that everything you will ever want is already here, it is nevertheless up to you to get into harmony with it. Clearly, you will never get into harmony with prosperity if you insist upon holding images of lack and limitation in the storehouse of your marvelous mind. Since you are always magnetized towards something, it follows it can never be anyone else's fault when something comes into your life you supposedly do not want. Understand you have ordered it, and it is being delivered to you right on schedule.
I hope you enjoyed this video. We put a lot of good information up here, and it causes everything in your life to get better. If you'd like us to notify you every time we put a new video up, hit subscribe and then turn on notifications. Check out all our videos, and we will notify you when we put a new one up.